He walked into the room thinking he owned it. One sentence later, he lost everything. People said confidence looked good on him, but that morning in Dallas, up on the 22nd floor of Horizon Capital, confidence was about to become the most expensive thing Ethan Rivers ever wore. He breezed through those glass doors like the skyline belonged to him, his navy suit razor-sharp, shoes polished bright enough to catch the sunrise. His assistant hurried along behind him, juggling a tablet and a latte Ethan had already decided wasn't up to his temperature standard. Typical Ethan, always 2 steps ahead of everyone, and a little too certain the world was there to play by his rules. The conference room was a study in quiet power, all walnut, chrome, leather, and the scent of high-end coffee humming under the low tension. Around the table, every seat was taken men and women in tailored suits, faces you might catch in a Wall Street Journal spread, the kind who move money with more zeros than most folks see in a lifetime. Ethan strode in, smiling that practiced politician's smile. "Good morning, gentlemen, ladies," he said, voice slick as butter. Everyone stood to greet him. Everyone except the woman at the far end. She just kept reading, pen tapping her folder, not so much as a glance up. Ethan clocked her in an instant. Black, slim, quietly elegant, that kind of neat confidence that didn't need jewelry or labels. No nameplate, no laptop. In his mind, staff. Not worth a second thought. He didn't hesitate, shaking hands, working the room like a seasoned campaigner. When he reached her, he barely even slowed down, just waved a dismissive hand and let the words fall. "I don't shake hands with staff." For a second, the room froze. Someone coughed. She looked up, gaze steady as a judge's. The kind of calm that comes from knowing exactly who you are. Their eyes met, and for just a split second, something in the air shifted, like everyone else was in on a secret Ethan had missed. But he didn't feel it. He was too busy picturing himself walking out of here a hero, $2 billion richer, his tech empire saved for another day. She closed her folder, slow and deliberate, then finally spoke. "Mr. Rivers, thank you for joining us." The voice was soft but unmissable, the kind that made people lean in even if they didn't mean to. Ethan just laughed, careless, already halfway through his mental victory lap. "Well, let's make this quick. Time is money, right?" But no one in the room laughed with him. For the first time in a long while, he felt something press in on his chest, not fear, but a hairline fracture in the mirror of his self-assurance. What he didn't know was that the woman he dismissed wasn't staff at all. She was Danielle Brooks, managing partner of Horizon Capital, the only one in that room whose opinion mattered. Ethan slid into the head seat, the one he always claimed, the one that said, "I'm in charge here." This time, though, nobody moved aside, nobody deferred. He started his pitch, rolling out numbers, market projections, all the fireworks. Usually this was when people sat up straight, notebooks open, hungry for a piece of the next big thing. Not today. Around the table, only polite smiles, people waiting like they already knew how the movie would end. Danielle finally stood, every movement slow, controlled like she had all day. She tapped her tablet, and a presentation lit up the wall. Ethan's company logo underneath, in small print, liquidity risk assessment. He felt his stomach dip. He hadn't come here to talk about weaknesses. Danielle turned, met his eyes. "Your numbers are interesting, but before we discuss what you want, we need to talk about what you need." He tried to laugh it off, push the conversation back to his strengths, but Danielle was relentless. "Your track record is impressive," she said, "but so are your last 2 quarterly losses, your burn rate, and your lawsuit in Austin. Should I keep going?" Ethan, usually so smooth, felt the room turning against him. A man in gray at the table tried to interrupt. "Danielle, should we proceed as planned?" She didn't break her gaze. "Yes, let's proceed." Her tone said everything. She was the one driving this meeting, and he was just along for the ride. Now, here's where most folks expect the big comeback, the hero moment where Ethan's charm turns it all around. But that's not what happened. Let me back up. Ethan hadn't always been this guy. He started in Tempe, Arizona, kid in a dorm room, cheap laptop, big ideas. Sold an app, then another. Made his first 100 mil before 30. By 35, Forbes covers, TV interviews, people buying the Ethan Rivers dream. But somewhere along the way, hunger turned into ego, ego into arrogance. The world kept telling him he was the biggest name in the room, and he started believing it. But behind the scenes, his company was bleeding out. Losses, lawsuits, delays, investors jumping ship. This meeting with Horizon? It was supposed to be his oxygen mask. Instead, it was shaping up to be an autopsy. Danielle kept going. Every slide on the screen, another layer stripped away from Ethan's armor. "We've reviewed your proposal," she said finally, "but we have serious concerns about your company's sustainability." Ethan leaned forward, voice sharpening, trying to claw back control. "With all due respect," but Danielle cut him off, gentle as rain but hard as steel. "Respect is the foundation of any deal, Mr. Rivers, and without it, everything else collapses." The silence that followed was like a pressure drop. Everyone in the room could feel it except, maybe, Ethan himself. He was still reaching for old tricks, the smile, the swagger, but it wasn't working. Danielle closed her tablet, straightened to her full height. "We've made our decision." Ethan forced one last winning grin. "Great. Let's make it official." She didn't even blink. Horizon Capital will not be proceeding with this deal. For a moment, the world just stopped. Ethan's smile froze. "Excuse me." Danielle didn't waver. "Your proposal doesn't align with our values or long-term strategy." He tried again, pushing numbers, market share, all the things that used to get doors open. Danielle just shook her head. "This isn't about numbers, Mr. Rivers. It's about character." Now, you could have heard a pin drop. Ethan wanted to push back, argue, but Danielle just leaned in low enough that only he could hear. "When you walked in, you made a choice. A simple gesture could have built a bridge. Instead, you burned it before we even spoke." For once, Ethan had no comeback. Danielle addressed the board, adjourned the meeting, and walked out without looking back. Ethan sat there, the table suddenly feeling like a lifeboat adrift at sea. He tried to call after her, desperate now. "Danielle, wait. This is $2 billion. She paused at the door, her voice steady. "Neither is respect, Mr. Rivers." Then she was gone. What Ethan didn't realize was that Danielle's quiet exit would echo louder than anything he'd ever said. The next morning, his phone blew Uplift's calls, news headlines. Horizon Capital pulls $2 billion backing from Rivers Tech amid leadership concerns. The market panicked. Investors fled. By lunch, $500 million had evaporated from his company's value. His lawyer called, voice tight. "There's a clip trending, Ethan." Ethan's stomach dropped. "What clip?" It was only a few seconds, someone's phone video, but clear enough to hear him say, don't shake hands with staff." 7 words. That was all it took. The internet exploded. Comments by the thousands. "Respect is free. Danielle Brooks is a legend. Imagine thinking money buys manners." He watched as his reputation, built over decades, unraveled in hours. His PR team begged him to apologize, to spin the story, but Ethan knew the truth was already out there, raw and unforgiving. That night, Ethan sat alone in his corner office, the city lights cold outside the glass. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel untouchable. He felt small. He opened his laptop, read the headlines praising Danielle's poise, her leadership, her grace under pressure, every word a reminder of what he wasn't. He whispered it, barely audible. "I was wrong, but it was too late." Some lessons are cheap. This one cost him everything. Because respect costs nothing, but arrogance can cost you the world. In the end, it wasn't his bank account or his projections that people remember it was how he treated those he thought were beneath him. So, let me ask you, if you were in that room, which side would you want to be on? Have you ever seen arrogance bring someone down, or watched quiet strength win the day? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me where you stand on respect, leadership, and what it means to really own the room. And if this story hit home for you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that the highest seats in the house aren't always the ones at the head of the table.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video.
Oh, yeah. Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to.
Yeah, they're on the fence.
Use the fence.